Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about The Handmaid's Tale, Season 3, Episode 11. It's called Liars. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. So, this episode starts with June hearing some commotion when she's counting her muffins. I'm not going to lie, I wanted a muffin. There was so many close-ups of muffins.
I'm alright. Muffins don't appeal to me.
I don't like them as much as donuts, but I do enjoy a muffin. A nice muffin can be nice.
I'm not really a fan of any cake sort of thing. I don't know. The consistency of it just doesn't sit right with me.
All right. But she here's some commotion. Lawrence is having a bit of a kerfuffle with his wife. Eleanor's got a gun to his head, and June has to talk her down. And she's like, "Oh, you created this world. Like everything that's happened to you, June. You everything you've went through. You were raped because of him." And she's got a gun to his head, and she has to talk her down and say, but he can help. He can change things. He can save some people. We're working towards something. I need you to trust me, Eleanor. I need you to, give me the gun. And she does talk her down. And I did like how it went to the title screen on the piano music that was playing. It had a nice kind of somber opening to the episode.
Yeah, I think the music intros have been a bit hit or miss recently this season. This one worked a lot better.
Yeah. And the idea that after the ceremony, Eleanor's kind of went further. She's kind of getting worse, and she's kind of, snapping and not handling it well, understandably so. And, June sits down with Lawrence afterwards while he's drinking again, and it's getting reminiscent of the last episode where they were drinking together at the end, and says, "Okay, so about the kids getting out, that will help you get out."
Might be a couple more than we thought.
Yeah, 52. Apparently the shows are a fan of DC Comics because it was 52.
Not gonna lie, first thing that popped into my head too.
Yeah, especially when she's looking at all the muffins, I'm like, that's like 52 Earths. There's like 52 muffins.
You nerd.
But and he's like, oh, okay, sure. That's gonna, you crazy? 52. That's a lot.
It's quite a bit.
Yeah, they need more trucks, and it's all this. But honestly, the most fascinating part of this plot for me is like the next day when they realize that Eleanor's not had her breakfast. No one's heard from the commander. She goes into the room, and like stuff's shredded. It's abandoned, and there's just a note on the desk saying sorry. And this was fascinating to me. The idea of the commander running away with his wife, where like June and the Marthas are terrified. Like I mean, June's concerned because the plan is going to shit. Especially since at this point she's had this meeting with the Marthas in the basement.
Council of Marthas.
Yeah, where they're pissed because they've got this plane coming in with supplies, and they don't want her plan to like interfere. And they're kind of pissed because she didn't ask for permission, but ultimately they kind of say, "Look, we won't get in the way of this plan as long as you don't get in the way of anything we're doing, and we'll respect it. If you pull this off and you save all these kids, and it's a worthwhile goal."
It was quite an amusing bit where she realized, when she said there was actually like 52 kids. And they were like, "Oh, okay. Well, we knew you were kidable, but clearly we didn't count for mental instability."
Yes, which is actually something that it's just Lawrence that says that, right?
Yeah, because they make a similar comment
because Lawrence says that, and he also says, maternal attachment. We overlooked that as well.
Yeah.
A lot of pain that caused, and I do like the idea that he is actually starting to think about all the feelings that he never considered that he was going to like ruin and like cause pain because. Like he was thinking such a mathematical, logical point of view. He wasn't ever considering how people would actually feel about anything.
Yeah, it was very, very cold.
Yeah, and I think he feels the wrath. I think the way his wife sees him and him having to live through that is kind of him, in a personal way, realizing what he's done to people. So I was fascinated with the idea of them having to struggle and hide the fact that their commanders ran off for a while.
And they were like, "Well, we got a couple of days before anyone realizes."
Yeah, but he comes back, and I was all disappointed he came back at first. However, the reason he came back is that he can't actually use these his passcodes to get out of states, to cross state lines, don't work anymore. And he theorizes that it's a matter of time before they realize what he's been up to, and this is why his security clearance has been.
Because he's like, "Hey, this wasn't some clerical error. They've locked me out. They know. Well, they don't trust me anymore. Basically,
yeah, they're suspicious. Yeah, they're suspicious enough that you can't do this." And she's obviously upset about this, but she gets the idea like, what about the plane? Like, presumably we can just put the kids and the commander and his wife on the plane.
Yeah, if the plane comes in, the plane has to go out.
Yeah, and the Martha's like, I can't believe I vouched for you. I'm not happy that I did this, like, because you're crazy. She had heard by this point that the person who had set up the plane was this guy who works at the Jezebels, this bartender. And
all he cares about is money.
All he cares about is money. And I love that, when she's with Lawrence, she basically says, okay, you're taking me out of the city. We're going to the Jezebels. And I loved it. We've not really seen this since like season 1. And I loved it. We just cut to her in the car and she's dressed up and you know exactly where she's going.
I'd forgotten what the city looked like.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah, because as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, this was quite a recurring location in season 1.
No, it was a really neat sort of throwback to that season. But what's interesting is this time she's getting with purpose and she's getting on her own. Lawrence is just waiting in the car and she's like, you better wait on me, kind of thing. And she goes in and she talks to Kyle and kind of talks him into it. She kind of like offers him all the paintings that Lawrence has because Lawrence raided like museums when Gilead was set up because he wanted all these fancy paintings.
She's like, you can be rich.
Yeah, so they're all worth a fortune, and this is how she's going to pay him. And he thinks she's crazy, but he's like, hey, I'll hold the plane for like 20 minutes. That is all you've got, when it lands.
She wants 24 hours. He's like, no chance.
Yeah, you get 20 minutes.
Which I think is pretty reasonable on his part to go, there is a difference. So, I can delay it, 20 minutes, half an hour, and a full day.
Yeah. So, okay, plan somewhat successful. There's some awkward moments here where she's like looking, because I loved even just seeing the hallway. When she gets out the elevator, that hallway. Because I remember going through that hallway for the first time with Lawrence. Oh no, with Fred, back in season 1. But and she's watching this commander like kind of like feel up this girl at the bar, and it's
just behind it. It's never in focus. It's just always just over her shoulder.
Yeah. It's again a sign of her being in a different position, which is very relevant because what happens next is Maloney's character. I've never actually learned his name.
It's Winslow.
Winslow, there you go. He's like, hey, of Lawrence, is that you? And he comes up and it's like, oh no.
It's like she's made.
Yeah, and she goes and she's like, oh, I want to go and talk to you, and takes her up to his room. He's like, oh, so where is Lawrence? He's like, oh, he likes me to come alone and then tell him after. She thinks of an excuse that just sounds like a kink. It sounds like
oh, you've all got your kinks.
I actually think it was a really smart play on her part. Like I was curious as to what her excuse was going to be, and I'm like, do you know what? That sounds just weird enough that it sounds true.
It's weird enough that he would never have told anyone.
Yeah,
it's like slightly embarrassing, but enough that he's like, sure, why not?
Yeah, I can see that. And he's like, well, we're here now. Let's give him something to talk about, or something for you to tell him about. And this was a fascinating scene to me because it has this payoff as well because given where it goes. But it's fascinating because this is the first time in a while that because obviously we had the ceremony with her and Lawrence, but there was a mutual understanding that they had to do it, and it was accepted on both their parts that this had to happen. This is different.
It was uncomfortable, but it was not necessarily against her will entirely.
Yes, not in the traditional sense, anyway.
Not in the context of this show.
Yeah. Whereas this, of course, is Heminy's position. It's no, she's expected to do this because he's in charge. It is straight up rape, and her narration comes back in here. She's walking towards the bed, and it's
talking herself through. It's like, hey, you've done this before, detached, and it's all the stuff she was telling Lawrence.
Exactly, and it's been a while, and she's going through it. And she's saying all these things to her, just, it's not your body, it's just flesh, right? You just detach yourself, and it's not. And, it's when he kind of, comes in, he's touching her legs, where she just kind of snaps. And it's like...
She kicks him, yeah.
She kicks him in the face, and it's like, no, I'm not doing this again. Like, no, I'm past this. Like, like, she could go through the thing with Lawrence, she can't do this again. She can't pretend. She can't do what she's done with Fred in the past.
Yeah, no, it was different with Lawrence where she has some measure of respect for Lawrence, I think. Also, she just needs him for a plan. And, she was, again, relatively speaking, safe there.
Well, yeah, because there was even that conversation with Lawrence, on the couch when they were drinking, where at one point he says thank you for helping, and she says you're welcome, and it feels genuine when she says that. And then she's like, there could be some really dark irony here where you may end up being kind of a hero because you save all these kids. Fancy that, kind of thing. And I guess it's this idea that even he can be redeemed in some way, that he can help now that he understands the gravity of what he's done.
Yeah, I think we talk a lot on this show about how characters can change and evolve and redeem and damn themselves again. I think Lawrence is one of those interesting characters where we're told how terrible he was. We know how instrumental he was in Gilead in the early days. Yet clearly now he is not that man. He just isn't.
Again, I think it's the experience of actually living through it. It's just the experience of seeing how it's affected his wife and other people in his house, and it's all accumulated. And so June snaps and she kicks, and at first Winslow just kind of smells. He's like, "Oh, a fighter!" Like that's kind of his reaction.
It's like, "Oh, I haven't had this in a while."
Yeah, but she keeps fighting back, and he's got her on the floor, and she's kind of crawling, and it starts to feel like. Because I said here, this is the first time she's properly been raped. As weird a sentence that is in a while, right? But here's the weird thing, is that this looks more like rape than any other scene that we've ever had in the show, because she's trying to fight and crawl away, and he's kind of pulling her back in, pinning
it's
her
always
down.
been, she's, like I say, she's accepted it.
With the one exception. If you remember season 2, there was a scene where they kind of forced a ceremony on her in the house that wasn't necessary.
Had to hold her down.
But yeah, so she's kicking about, and she eventually grabs this pen and starts stabbing him. And I thought, it's not that big a pen, obviously. I'm like, how many times do you have to stab him until it's enough that he's like in enough pain or dying? Like, how long does this take? And she stabs him a lot.
She does stab him quite a damn few times.
Yeah, she stabs him a lot in the chest, in the side,
in the back.
In the back. And then he's still alive. He's just weak enough at this point from all the stabbing that he's not able to fight her anymore. And she grabs this, statue that's on the table and just hits him over the head.
Smacks him one. Yeah.
Yeah, and he tries to use his kids. He's like, "Oh, my kids, my family." He sort of utters that as he's, vulnerable on the floor. Like she kills him, and she just kind of breaks down. She sort of like sits down over at the wall, and eventually a Martha, essentially a maid. Housekeeping, yeah. But it's a Martha. They have Marthas doing this. She's in a Martha outfit. And she comes in, and she comes over to like kind of like check on her. Once she sees what's going on, or what the aftermath is, and you're like, "Oh, is she going to report her? What's going on here?" And she immediately says, "You saved me. I was one of the people in the cages, at the start of the season, and you picked me. You saved me. There's a fire exit, at the end of the hall. Go there. Use that to get out, and I'll take care of this," kind of thing. And
I will say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you say, "Oh, she saved it." Yes, that is true, and I don't think that's a precondition to her helping her here.
Sure. I think though, it's not so much that's why she saves her. It's more the luck of the person who happens to be in the position to find her as someone like her.
That helps. Yeah.
Because I think
this has happened before, hasn't it?
It's a very they seem to have a procedure for this.
yeah. They come in, they clean it, they dispose the body. This has happened. This is too organized to have been the first
they clean the body. They've got a furnace to throw the body in. They've got their big washer that they use for the sheets.
They've got something that you can get up liquid stains for all the blood on the carpets.
So they know what they're doing. But I think there is a weird kind of nice, because my instinct when she said, "Oh, I'm one of the ones that you saved at the start of the season," my instinct was like, "Oh, I don't know if I like that. That feels a bit, tropey or TV kind of like, oh, look how this came back." But then I thought about it for a second. No, I actually kind of like it. I kind of like that her choice early in the season. I don't mind it because we always knew that they were going to Jezebel's. It's a relatively confined location. There's probably not that many staff. It's not as much of a coincidence as maybe my head initially in the moment went.
Happening to out of all the families. Oh, she got assigned here. It's not like that. It was it was at a location we knew they were there.
But just because there's the thematic kind of like through line of like she made the tough choice of who to save, and then ultimately that decision proved to be in some way be right because she's clearly good at being a Martha and be doing these things under the radar, because remember we knew that one was a thief, one was a scientist, one was a whatever, and I don't know which one this was, but the idea that she picked them based on their skills and that they could be useful for the resistance, and that that ultimately that choice like here saved their life. Is a really smart thing. So I'll be interested to see the fallout of him going missing though, if we get any like tidbits on that in future episodes.
See, I would agree, but it feels so minor given some of the other events at the end.
I know, but I wonder if they assume that he escaped or he ran away as well, or something. Like, did he get captured
Maybe,
too?
yeah.
Well, obviously, we'll get to our plot in a minute, but no, that was really, really neat. I like this scene a lot, actually. This entire saga of her, and then like her like sort of running back out and not having her coat this time, so kind of sneaking around in the dress and getting into the car, and Lawrence just kind of seeing her and being like, well, you know, doesn't say anything, but clearly the look says, what the hell happened to you? Like, what's going on? And she's like, drive. And she's in this position of power, like she's giving him orders at this point. And it doesn't feel like super like she's trying to throw her weight around. It just feels like, no, she's clearly in charge, and he understands she's in charge.
It's borderline surreal.
Yeah. And ultimately, you know, she's got her plate, and there's like a great moment at the end. You know, as we get a montage of them cleaning everything up and whatever at the end. He comes into the room with her and hands her a gun, and he's like, "They'll be coming for us. We have to be prepared." So it's this, like, you know, we're kind of, forgive the word here, it doesn't fit perfectly, but we're brothers in arms essentially now. Here's a pistol.
Yeah, you know, they're all in it together now. There is no distinction between, you know, Handmaid and Commander. Not really, not anymore. It's just us against them.
Yeah. There's some solidarity that they've oddly found in being in this side, and it's kind of fascinating. I mean, you know, it really does feel like we've set up now for the last 2 episodes. Like, I don't know if they're putting them both out next week, like as a double.
It feels like it could do, and I know
because it's funny
done that before with this show, haven't they?
It's funny because we literally just did this with S.H.I.E.L.D., where the third last episode felt like it ended on a place where it feels like we're getting to the finale. Are they putting the last 2 out as a double? And sure enough, they are.
No, 2 weeks still.
Okay, it definitely feels like a 2-part finale after this episode.
No, it does, and it feels like it could have come together. And again, you know, Hulu have shown willingness to do that in the past.
Yeah. So I am looking forward to it based on all the developments here. The Serena and Fred plot. I wasn't feeling the first half of it as much. You know, when they're at the family's house, and
I like the scenes of them together in the car.
The driving, yeah, because he lets her drive, and it's like, oh, there's no one around. You can, you know, feel the wind in your hair again, and kind of thing.
Because I'm pretty sure she puts the roof down as well. Like, I don't think the roof was down for him. Was it?
No, it wasn't. That was this almost the joke jump cut. Is that when she drives, it's like, no, I want to be even more free. I want to do this. And you obviously have some conversations. So I will skip to the end of what happens, because I want to kind of frame it in the context of the ending when I talk about one of the other scenes. So they're meeting up with the contact, you know, the American from Canada. You know what I mean? Not from Canada, but, you know, the one in Canada.
The American in Canada.
Yeah. And they're driving obviously north near the border to have a meeting with him. And you know, they're waiting for him, and he comes in and he says, okay, I've got a place we can talk just up the road, and he's kind of, you know, says, follow me. So Fred's following him in the car, and they get to this point. And
it does feel like they're going for a while, and Fred's like, you know, is this your idea of you know, just up ahead? And he says that to Serena first.
And what's funny is I actually had the thought of, like, you know, like, because I actually thought they might already be in Canada. Like, you know, would he agree to meet him, you know, on this side of the border?
I actually thought that might have been the intention, given that, you know, at the start she was like, oh, you know, we're driving ourselves. I thought versus taking a plane.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I actually thought they were always intending to go to Canada.
But clearly it was near the border, which to me feels like it's a risk on the other guy's part of, like, willing to come into Gilead's territory. You know, given that he's someone who is American, who works in Canada and helps other people. Like, you know, they might have some, you know, things they want to do to him. Put him on a certain wall, for example.
He's got the leverage though, with having the access to the baby.
Sure, yeah. He's kind of like a diplomat essentially, to an extent, I guess, as well. So it would make some international sketchiness.
I would.
But you know, so Fred's out the car seconds, and the guy's like, okay, you're actually in Canada, you're in Canadian land, you're under arrest, and just all these, because I was actually thinking that there could be people hiding in the trees, like there could be like people,
and tons of them just come out,
because
vans start pulling up.
Not even so much to arrest him immediately, I was just thinking, like, oh, as like backup, like if anything is tried here, like he's got like backup all around him. That's why he's taken him to this location. But not
clearly very. I think actually, you know, the shots of them driving there. You know, the overhead tracking shots, some of the best direction in the episode for me. They were gorgeous shots.
I actually really like the direction, and it's funny because we've been ragging on some of the direction this season for being a bit over the top. I actually think the direction in this episode, for the most part, was really good.
It was, yeah. No, I agree.
Across the board. But yeah, so it's like, yeah, you've been arrested for war crimes, and
slavery, trafficking,
and rape. Yeah, there was this list of just horrific things, obviously, and and they kind of grabbed Serena as well. But my immediate thought was Serena made this deal.
She set him up.
Yeah, because there's a scene earlier on when they're talking at the family's house, or they're in the woods a little bit away from the house, and she's like, remember that apartment? I wrote my book there, and he's like, oh, you were a great writer, and she's like,
she's like, yeah, kind of was.
Yeah, you took that away from me. And he's like, oh, I didn't realize you'd have to sacrifice so much. Because even though she clearly influenced a lot of the beliefs in Gilead, she clearly didn't necessarily dictate every little detail that was.
I actually think it's a very similar situation to what we've learned with Lawrence. How, in the last couple of episodes, he goes, oh, I never, it never happened to me. I never thought the rules would apply to me, being, the founder. I think Serena thought a similar situation where I think she was under the impression she would have a little bit more freedom than the average woman.
Yeah, that makes sense. But it was this conversation I went back to. Like, I think she knows she's about to turn them in. And it makes me wonder. Like, clearly she has to be intended in going to Canada to be with Nicole at this point. Like, because under what circumstance will Gilead welcome her back with open arms?
And it was the way, even going back before that, just before Fred picks her up, she has the goodbye with Rita.
Yeah.
And it felt like a goodbye, didn't it?
And it felt like Rita might have even known.
It did, yeah.
A little bit. So,
yeah, because obviously we should mention at the end, it doesn't actually tell us that she was involved yet. They officially at least take her into custody as well, or at least they put her in a different van.
Yeah, I think it's all for show for him, just so that he thinks she's been arrested too.
I agree, because they never actually say anything to her about being under arrest or anything like that. They just take her away to the van. He's the one that they're, calling out for all the crimes, reading his rights, so to speak.
And I think the deal she's made here is that, at least on some level, they'll recognize that she's also like a guardian.
A victim.
Well, I was going to say a guardian of Nicole, so that she at least gets visitation rights with the kid, or if nothing else,
Probably, yeah.
Is what my assumption would be. So I like this development. I think some of Serena's plots waved a bit back and forth this season. And it's not been great, especially in the middle chunk. But
yeah.
My expectation here, in terms of if they explain that she is behind this, is that when she gave Fred the phone and said, "This is what we should do," is that she already used it. Yeah, she'd already set up this plan with the dude, and this was the.
I suspect so.
Yeah.
Jack, also, we're talking about the pacing of the season. I know usually we talk about this right at the end, but it actually struck me during this episode. You hear at the end specifically, it's been so long since we've actually seen Canada. Luke and stuff like that. Like that was the first handful of episodes. It was so important, and then just nothing since the protests.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's notable as well that it's once that stopped that the episodes dipped, and it wasn't just for that reason. There was problems in the plot, but
yeah, we're not saying that's causation. It's just
it was those few episodes, and maybe part of it is that the Canadian stuff in some ways was more interesting for a couple of those episodes because it was doing some interesting stuff with Emily. It was doing
I think it was all just at least if nothing else, it gave us a counterpoint. It broke up things. It gave us some balance in the episodes, and it kept things fresh. Instead of just everything in Gilead, which is obviously what we've been doing.
Yeah, and I've no doubt we'll see them again in the last, especially since Serena's there now. Like,
oh, absolutely. But I just when I got to this point of the episode when we're talking about Canada, I went, shit, yeah, we've not seen Canada in ages. So to in the context of this season, it was so front loaded.
Yeah, and here's the thing: because June has no intention of leaving herself, her plan will probably, at least for the most part, succeed.
Yeah,
I can see Lawrence maybe dying in the way there or something like that. But
I can see Lawrence having to go out actually go out a hero and sacrifice himself to get the kids away, and he'll make that choice in the end. Yeah,
but I think because it's not her intending on going, they'll probably succeed because it'll give you a big win at the end of the season, and she's not leaving because they don't want her to leave because she used to be in Gilead for the show to work apparently.
Because we need a season 4, which we are getting now.
Yes, it was renewed. So. Which is fine. I mean, like, they're always going to keep her there. The question then becomes, though, is what is she doing in season 4? Like, my hope is that she doesn't, turn herself in and be attached to a house. My hope is that she's actually completely renegade and, like...
She's just wandering around, taking refuge in various places, being a resistance leader.
Yeah, that is my hope, just so it's different again. Like, I think if she gets nabbed and she's like sent to another commander, I guess maybe send her to the colonies would be different, because at this point she's done so much shit that like
she'd deserve it by their standards.
By their logic, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that'd be a thing.
I think you do have to get to a point where, yeah, okay, it's season 4. I know they want season 4 obviously because it's good for them, and okay, we're gonna have June and Gilead, but from a writing perspective and us as an audience, we want it to not feel contrived and repetitive.
Yeah, and I think there's a fair criticism that June has a little bit of plot armor, given how severe the punishment is in this show for people doing things. She is been punished in a lot of ways, but most other people
stick her next to Janine.
Yeah, or even just like they know fine well that she was involved in the reason why that Martha got hanged a few episodes ago, right?
Yeah, like she got away with a lot in season 2 because she was pregnant.
Yeah,
and that was a pretty good reason to give her plot armor. I think I have felt it more in season 3.
Yeah. So if she's actually in a position where she is more of a renegade and a rebel and just hiding and sneaking around and stuff, we wouldn't have to suffer that, because we know if she's caught, she's in trouble, she's dead. She's going to be punished severely. Yeah. But that's why the show then becomes about her avoiding that. Like, it's about her sneaking around and whatever. But
yeah, I agree.
But that episode was solid. I think one of the things that I speculated when we were having trouble for a couple of episodes is that it may just be a law in the middle, because they've just maybe not enough plot, and it seems to have kind of been that, because it's really picked up in the last 2 or 3.
No, I agree. I haven't loved everything. There are things still left over from that slump that I'm feeling. Like even like June's mental state, I'm not particularly loving. Things with Serena, but there's no point in talking about them every episode because it's just the status quo now.
Yeah. But I enjoyed this episode. Like after the one that we really disliked, the Lydia flashback one, I was worried to get the next one. I was like, I'm not know if I'm looking forward to this. Luckily, it picked up a little bit there, and then the last 2 I think have been pretty good. So
yeah, this is definitely the best one in a while. I think.
Oh, really? Last week's.
I know. I think last week's was pretty good as well, but I think this one was even still a noticeable step up for me.
Okay. But we got 2 left. So hopefully, if the season goes out high, like ultimately, if I look back at a 13-episode season and I dislike 3 episodes in the middle, I'm not that pissed about that. It's unfortunate, but it's not like.
I agree.
It doesn't make me go, oh, season 4. Oh, I'm not looking like.
No. It'll always leave you a little bit disappointed with the season overall, but it won't ruin it forever.
Yeah. 9 or 10 good out of 13 is a pretty solid number, to be honest.
And it also depends where it is, because if the bad 3 or 4 are at the end, sure, you feel a lot worse going into the following season. Sure.
But we're on an upward trend, so
we are, yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. But that is episode 11 of I almost said Big Little Lies there, of Handmaid's Tale. So by all means, let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Guys on the Twitters at mail_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show and the channel, you can head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv, where you can support us for as little as $1 per month, and you get some bonuses, you get some stuff early, and you obviously get more stuff at the higher tiers, but $1 will get you a lot of stuff as it is. And you can do that and feel warm and fuzzy, keep all the content coming, and make sure my cats get fed. So go over to Patreon and have a look. You can also, of course, send us in questions for anything we do on Twitter at mail_fuzz, but you can also do it via email now, mftvquestions@gmail.com. If you want to send us in a big long question, just in the subject bar put in what show you're asking us a question about, and we'll occasionally pick some to talk about. Not as much in the TV reviews, admittedly, but it's not unfeasible either. If we get a good question, we'll throw one at the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, go check out all that stuff. Otherwise, check out all the content we have. Obviously, we've got other reviews going up just now. We're working through The Boys season 1 on Amazon Prime, as well as Tool to Die Young on Amazon Prime. We have a bunch of Netflix shows coming up soon, maybe notably Dear White People and Mindhunter, and we have, of course, other reviews going up constantly.
Dear White People is like tomorrow.
Yes, but by the time this goes up, technically today.
Yeah, this will still be going up before it, won't it?
About before it. I mean, depending on your time zone, it may not be
so
the previous
so probably day. in the next handful of hours.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV shows. I usually say TV. I usually just say keep watching TV. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's us. Anyway, thank you very much, guys. We'll see you next time. Have you got any vanilla?